Hello and welcome. It's The Chat. I am Manny. My guest on the program has over 50 years of a successful professional career in mass communication and information management.
Kelvin Ejiofor Nsochukwu is a man with a distinguished career in broadcast journalism, public and corporate communications, and a veteran information manager. He is the former Acting Director General of the Federal Radio Corporation, a former Director Enugu State Information Bureau, a specialist in news management and crisis communications. Born in Enugu State, Nigeria, he had his education at St. Paul's School, Eke, Government College, Ughelli, Delta State, and attended the University of Lagos. He holds a degree in social sciences. Kelvin's career began over 50 years ago, first as a clerk in the National Archives in Enugu, his home state. He was a sports anchor on Radio Nigeria, the Voice of Nigeria scriptwriter, producer, drama, and head of talks, the Director of Information in the Old Anambra State, Acting Director General at the FRCN, Executive Director, FRCN Enugu National Station, and the President of the Union of National Radio and Television Organizations of Africa, ORTNA, the Pan-African Union of Radio and Television Organizations. The body was rechristened the African Union of Broadcasting AUB under his leadership. Years later, Nigeria was unanimously voted to retain the presidency of the Union in recognition of his unmatched leadership. Although in 2007 Kelvin retired from the FRCN, he emerged as the promoter and founding managing director of City FM Lagos a year after. He was at City FM for 3 years before making his exit. A reputable image maker, Kelvin is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, a registered practitioner of advertising in Nigeria, a member of the Music Society of Nigeria, MUSON, and a board member of the Christopher Kolade Foundation, CKF Lagos. He is the initiator and founding board member of the Music Society of Enugu, MUSE, and is currently the honorary executive director of the Live in My City Art Festival. With his bundle of energy, many are not eager to conclude that he has finally retired from broadcasting, even at 84. Kelvin Ejiofor is the founder and CEO of Image Consultants Limited Lagos. He is married to Janet Adamma Eziye, a medical practitioner in London. They have 7 children.
Hello, Kelvin Ejiofor.
Hello, Manny.
You have really had a wonderful career, and I must congratulate you on that. Come to think of it, this career started in Enugu.
No, I actually went to primary school in Eke, a famous town in what is now called Enugu State. That was where the best teacher in the world, one of the best teachers in the world, came to the class with this thing about Government College Ughelli. None of us had ever heard the name of Ughelli before. But he said it was the Government College Ughelli, and he said he wanted us to enter for the entrance examination. We did.
Do you recall those early days? Who were youngsters growing up with you at that time?
I'm not sure that if you are talking about primary school days, I'm not sure that there are any of rock star status, if I may borrow the expression, that you will know. Unfortunately, many of them are dead. Many of them have died. But if you are talking about early days in broadcasting, that's where some names you will recognize occur. Lawrence Emeka, Ebunu Obidike, Sam Weneri, Christopher Nwubu, those kinds of people were those who nurtured us. I've been extremely lucky with the kind of people I've met in my life.
And who got you interested in broadcasting?
Oh, wonderful. There is a man called Victor Edguatu. He was working in the old P&T. I was then a clerk in the National Archives Department, which is another story by itself. And he came to our end of year party, and I was emceeing it. he came to pick up his wife, who was our telephone operator. When we finished, he walked up to me and said, I wish I could say it in Igbo. What are you doing here? I said, I work here. I said, what do you mean you are working here? What do you do? I said, I'm a clerk. No, you should not be here at all. You should not be here. The way you are speaking English, you should not be here at all. I'm going to see someone area and tell him about you. He came back the very next day and said, an advertisement is coming up in the Daily Times on Thursday. Make sure you apply. As they say, the rest is history. I applied.
Since after then, you have done 50 years of a successful professional career.
Well, 50 years were not all continuous. From that time, I did 18 years in broadcasting. Left broadcasting at the time. I'm glad I left. I left broadcasting in 1985 to join the then Anambra State, which is now made up of now Enugu, Ebonyi, and Anambra, as a head of the information arm of the ministry. I was chief information officer, director of information for 4 years. And then from there, I was invited to join Cadbury. At that time, Dr. Christopher Kolode was the managing director. I joined Cadbury and worked in Cadbury till 1997. At 60, I had to retire. I retired and started my own information company in Lagos. I was there when the great Adiro insisted I must come and join him back into radio 21 years after. And I told him that I liked what he was doing, and he was going a little away from the beaten path of radio.
What was he doing at that time that you liked?
He was showing a level of independence which government stations did not usually show. He was a man slightly ahead of his time or before his time, I don't know how to put it, but he had the courage, and I should say perhaps the president at the time, or Obasanjo, had the personal confidence to let him run on his own. He used to say openly on radio that Radio Nigeria was not a PDP organ. It was the Nigerian people's station. He used to say it openly to the hearing of everybody.
You eventually became the acting director general at the FRCN.
Yes. I had worked for 4 years as executive director, FRCN Enugu Zonal Station, as it was known, in charge of the old Eastern region and all that, and the stations and the station in Enugu. As I was just finishing that, his own job finished, and I was then invited to come and act in the position as Director General.
And you remained an actor and left. But the fact is, are you disappointed that you did not become a substantive Director General?
No, I did not become a substantive. As I told you, at that point in time when I was invited to act as Director General, I was 68 years old.
Let me read out a quote in one of the national dailies that talked about your 1 year in office as acting Director General. It said, Ejiofor opened up the FRCN, attracting good hands from the private sector, filling key positions in several important directorates, and noticing that the BBC, Voice of America, and other foreign broadcast media were talking to our people in our languages and winning their minds, he proposed and pushed for the actualization of a national language channel, whereby the leaders and the led will talk to each other in their first language across the length and breadth of the country. How does that make you feel?
A bit sad that I know it was deliberately truncated by certain interests. But you see, the background to that was that as head of what used to be UTNA, which I changed and restructured and now became the Broadcasting Union of Africa, UAB, or whatever they call it now. I removed all the weight around the place, working with the South Africans and the Algerians, and of course with Dr. Tony Redia. We changed UTNA and made it a little more compact and more effective. But then in interacting with South Africans, with Indians, with people from New Zealand and so on, during some of these Commonwealth Broadcasting conferences, I found that Radio Nigeria was not in a position to be competitive unless we did something about it, something radical about it. And all that, promoting the most senior to become the next director of programs or next director of this, was not going to cut it. So I took 2 papers to the Federal Executive Council. One was to restructure Radio Nigeria at the time, FRCN. At that point in time, the agitations in the South were becoming quite noticeable. We didn't have a presence in the South. We didn't have a presence in the Northeast. So I restructured the FRCN and created the Northeast position, created the South Directorate, and wanted to bring all the directors to headquarters. They shouldn't be in the zones to make policy and so on and so forth. And then it happened that just at that time, my minister went to the House of Lords to talk about things concerning Nigeria. When he came out, the BBC Hausa service cornered him and interviewed him in Hausa because he had grown up in Maiduguri and he spoke Hausa, fluent Hausa. So interviewed him in Hausa. When he came back, I went up to his office. I was quite upset. And I said to him, look, you went to the BBC. The rest of Nigeria don't know what you did there. The BBC Hausa service will put whatever spin they like on that and feed it to the Hausa listening population in Nigeria. What happens to the rest of us? That led me to bringing out a paper for him to take to council. He was a bit reluctant, but he took me along. And I presented the paper to council. I'm not sure I want to go into what happened.
Kevin, many people would have forgotten that you, alongside Ernest Okonkwo, Sebastian Oforom, and a few others, was one of the most versatile radio commentators we've ever produced in Nigeria. Remind me of those challenging days that you were running football commentaries.
You know, I was originally employed as an announcer. Much as I admired announcers, I thought it was a boring thing, so I left it. I was put in outside broadcast for a while. That's the time you're referring to. And I kept doing that till I left. But I had left all that commentating, and I was in features and drama for a long time. But let's go back to commentating. Ernest Okonkwo, the great Ernest Okonkwo, was, of course, took over from the great Ishola Folorunsho. And it was a most wonderful time. For one thing, on a personal level, it enabled me to travel the world with our teams because we had great teams at that time. And we went all over Africa and even sometimes out of Africa. And I went to Moscow for the Olympic Games and all of that. So it was a very exciting time. And we had great people. As you said, Ernest Okonkwo, Yinka Craig, Dele Adetiba, Sebastian Oforum, and all those kinds of people. And people like Fabio Lanikbeku, I don't know. I hope he kept something. He was the reservoir of all information. Oladele Bankolemo and Ernest himself didn't have written form, but he remembered everything, every minute of everything that happened in outside broadcasts. And it was when I went to the BBC that I found that we were doing far more than we should do as commentators. Because they had people, at that time it was a filofax. There was no computer at that time. Your filofax manager was sitting behind you and gave you all the facts that you would inject into your commentary. If you scored a goal, the man will tell you that's his fourth goal for the season. He has 4 children, and he comes from, and all of that. And you'll be just be repeating box. But in our time, we had to do all of that, remember all of that by ourselves, make our notes, find information. It was a very exciting time.
Pick a question.
I have a question here that says, what are the areas you think media can be improved in their reportage?
Yep.
I think my answer to that question is that there should be more interest in the people of Nigeria. Today, you see reporters who come to a place where there has been a disaster, and they're waiting there for the fire service head or for the commissioner for environment or this or that. The people who are affected, you see very little of them. And you can see the BBC and all these foreign stations are cashing in on that absence. There is now BBC Igbo, there's BBC Pidgin, and they follow the daily experiences of Nigerians. If you do that today, I suppose people won't get money. I don't know why they are not doing it. There should be more interest in the daily life of the Nigerian experience, rather than what we started calling before I left, he said, she said, journalism. The commissioner said.
What do you think of the opinion of some people that FRCN and NTA should no longer belong to government?
I don't think it's even necessary. What is necessary is for government to move back a little. I'll give you an example. In New Zealand, it happened that government said, you fellows, we're no longer interested in owning you.
Yes.
Go and fend for yourselves. I was chairman of a panel in South Africa that investigated public service broadcasting. It's not necessary for government, but if they want to do it, it will be good. But it's not going to add a kobo. Now that we've decentralized, let them just pull out back a little bit and allow those stations to compete on their own.
Hang on, you've had a very busy career. And how did you find a woman that you called your wife?
Manny, you are breaking an agreement. I told you I don't do personal questions. I didn't find her. We found ourselves. Well, no, we found ourselves.
And 7 children after?
Yes, thank heavens. They came in 2 batches. My first wife passed. The other one, I had 3 children. The first had 4. So 7 children.
Obviously, you're benefiting from the lot. I was just only wondering if any one of them is, into broadcasting or communication out.
Yes. Just one. The second to the last one, a boy, is working with an FM station in Enugu here.
Kevin, people are wondering at 84, will you ever retire? I mean, I understand now that you are Director General of WABMA.
Yeah, it's a kind of, well, it's not a 9 to 5 everyday job. So, but I enjoy it. It keeps me in touch with young people, and it keeps me in touch with my home profession, which is broadcasting. It's very interesting to watch the directions it's going, the kind of gadgets they now have to aid them, and to learn how to use those things. Some of it, not every one of it, but it's very interesting that one keeps learning, keeps guiding. The principles remain the same, but the aids, the dominance of the internet and ICT is the new thing for us.
What makes you really dizzy about Nigeria?
There are no people in Nigeria anymore. There are no people in Nigeria anymore. There are Igbos, there are Yorubas, there are Jukuns, there are Fulani, there are Hausa, but no people anymore. Everybody is identified by his state, or by his religion, or by his car, or his house. The genus man is disappearing in Nigeria. Man, you knew, you met a bit of Nigeria. At Aburi, on Obalande Road. I wasn't a great regular there, but you met them there.
Yes.
You worked with people for 10 years. You didn't know where they came from, except it was very obvious. I wish I was more able to be in a place where I could point at some of the people I'm looking today who are messing up the country and say to them, let me give you an example. In 1982, the Umaru Duke came to commission to be our guest in Radio Nigeria at the tennis court. I was the MC. And I asked him, sir, you are a very powerful minister. Do you have anybody, your mother, your wife, or your friend, or whoever, who can tell you, Alaji, that thing you said yesterday is nonsense? Everybody was terrified, but he was very grateful for the question. And he said to me, I live in Okoyi, I live in a huge house where there is a huge sitting room. By the time I get there, there will be about 200 people. As I walk through the door, everybody is groveling on the floor. But they come to me one by one. No one is talking about the needs of Nigeria. Everybody is talking about their need. Nobody tells me about my job. Nobody tells me whether I have done well or not.
Kelvin.
Our country lacks people who can tell people that kind of thing.
Let's cast you away to an island for 10 days. Would like to know what are the 5 important items you take along with you. Not a wife, not a child, just 5 items you take along with you to this island.
My exercise mat.
Yep.
My books, some books. Yep. I would take ukwa.
Ukwa?
And yes.
Do you eat a lot of that?
Do
you eat a lot of that these days?
Not a lot, but regularly, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Excellent.
What about this? Is that okay? Am I phone? Is this together at home? Yes, that one also now. What else would I miss at home? Pictures of my children.
Yep.
And grandchildren especially.
Excellent. Excellent. Can I ask you, Kelvin, what would you be reflecting on, in that period of time, 10 days?
What I would most be the sad state of my country that I love. There was a book once called, that brought a lot of controversy, by Chinua Achebe called There Was a Country. I will be reflecting on there was Nigeria. And before our very eyes, if we don't take time, Nigeria, even now, the Nigeria I knew, I'll give you an example. I always give this example. I arrived in Ibadan from secondary school to start work at the National Archives. The first person I met was a Yoruba man. I asked about a certain Igbo man whom I knew was working in Ibadan. The Yoruba man knew him because they were working together in the railway, brought out 1 shilling and a 6pence, gave to another boy to take me to the house in Ijebu Pass in Ibadan at his own expense. He didn't know me. He didn't know my name. He didn't know anything about me. He wasn't worried. And no questions asked. He gave me assistance, gave me somebody to take me. 1 shilling and 6pence was for taxi. The taxi cost 1 shilling, 6pence per drop in Ibadan those days. So 1 shilling to take the boy and I, and 6pence to bring him back. He paid from his own pockets. That was the Nigeria I knew. I got a job before I wrote school certificates. In November 1957, I was interviewed in Government College, Jueli, and employed to work in the National Archives. By the time we finished school certificate and the results came out by February, I was working in Ibadan. So there was a country. I will be ruminating on what one I can contribute, or anybody I know can contribute to bring back Nigeria.
Kevin, it's been nice talking with you.
I hope so.
We are very proud of you. And long may you live.
Thank you, but please don't go the way they go with all these politicians. It's a nice for you to have me on your show. Thank you very much.
That's how it's been on the chats this week. I am Manny. See you next time.